Let's get to tariffs now. There has been a major announcement from Donald Trump while he was abroad about the European Union and a trade deal that's been reached between these two blocs. Here's what he had to say.
We are agreeing that the tariff straight across for automobiles and everything else will be a straight across tariff of 15%.
You are known as a tough negotiator and deal maker. What is in front and fair, and what is in front of us?
That's less important.
If we are successful, I think it would be the biggest deal each of us has ever struck. So I'm very much looking forward.
Ever struck by anybody? That's
yeah.
So that is the circumstances there. He was pictured, with the EU president von der Leyen. It is kind of an insane deal, and I'll try and get into the broad strokes of it. So first of all, people need to understand, he is meeting there with the European Union. Now, the European Union has the ability to negotiate trade agreements and blocs, but doesn't have the full authority to actually command its countries to do that. All right, This sounds pretty important. By the way, this is why the entire European Union is a stupid idea, but that's a secondary question. You have France and Germany, who have criticized the two major economic powers within the EU, who are critical of the deal that's been signed now by the European Union. Now, the European Union is saying we are pledging, but the crux of the deal is basically to set a base tariff rate of 15%. Let me just put that up at the top. There's gonna be a 15% tariffs on goods. By the way, it actually includes pharmaceuticals, which was previously exempt from a lot of this. It's essentially a flat tariff across the board on all of that. In exchange for lowering the tariff rate, and including there's some other stuff that's in the deal, the EU, and this is the one touted most by Trump, is going to spend some $600 billion US by purchasing US natural gas supplies and others. That's the key deal that's being sold to Americans.
Right.
Now, I want people to understand that there is zero enforcement on that. Zero. So let me go ahead and put D4 up here on the screen. And I've heard a lot of pushback from MAGA folks lately. Oh, you're such a hater and all this. Listen, I'm a hater because I'm pro-protectionism. I'm pro protecting American business, investment, and all of that. I am not pro fake promises from people that have no authority to actually make them. So here, the European Union admits it cannot guarantee their $600 billion promise to Donald Trump. Quote, the extra investments pledged under the trade deal would have to come from private companies, which Brussels concedes it has no power to control. Let me reiterate that. Brussels says it has no power to actually invest the touted $600 billion of European Union money into the Wall Street Journal, into the U.S. over the coming years. And in fact, quote, the money would have to come exclusively from private European companies with public investment contributing nothing, which means that these private companies would have to make the decision. Now, can the government lean on the private company? I guess. But, if they're going to lean on the company, then maybe we would have to offer them something in return.
Yeah.
This is the problem, right? And then secondary to all of this is this pledge around gas and actually buying a lot of U.S. natural gas supplies. Well, everything I've read now so far, there is a zero expectation that all of that money will actually will eventually end up in the hands of U.S. gas suppliers. Why? We don't have the supply. We barely have the supply currently. It also depends on the supply infrastructure here in America, which, by the way, we don't have very much of, at least for right now. And it would basically require the EU to increase even more than it currently is, which is causing consternation in their domestic markets, their reliance on American energy. So those are like the two cruxes, right? The $600 billion of investment and buying natural gas in exchange for the so-called 15% flat tariff. That's the deal. I mean, look, it's better than, 50, 60% or whatever people can say. Previously, yeah, fine. But, in terms of...
That Trump had also put in
Trump
place.
had put in... So that's why I'm going crazy at all these people who are like, hey, guys, we need to admit here that the truth is that Trump succeeded. It's like, oh, hold on a second, all right? He put in maximal tariffs, went from maximal tariffs for what? How long was it? 2 weeks? something like that, from Liberation Day onward. The markets crash. After the market and the bond market react, they pull back and say, actually, there's a pause on everything, and there's all these like little mini tariffs everywhere. We're going to do all of these side deals. All of the side deals then get postponed for some 90 to 180 days as they continue to go on with China. And now within that context, after you've moved and after there's already been some market correction or reality of accepting some of these tariffs, then you declare victory after you're the ones who back down from your original position. So that is a good lead-in to the Bill Maher, and that's why I want people to understand this stuff. I'm not a hater. I want more. I want better trading relationship. I don't see a lot of this stuff in the European Union other than a tariff for the sake of tariff. I don't really see how this is going to increase overall U.S. investment and manufacturing. I'd love to be proven wrong, but I just don't personally see it. All I see is the S&P 500 to go up, because the reason it's going up is because people, big business, knows that it's actually not going to affect them all that much. So that's the context through which Bill Maher now says, quote, I got to own it, and gives Trump saying that the tariffs didn't sink the economy. Let's take a listen.
The truth is, I don't know what his strategy is. But look, the stock market is at record highs. I know not everybody lives by the stock market, but I also drive around. I don't see a country in a depression at all. I see people out there just living their lives. And I would have thought, and I got to own it, that these tariffs were going to fucking sink this economy by this time, and they didn't.
The reason why is because those maximal tariffs on China, which actually would have sunk the economy, are not currently in place, okay? And let's get into that little China tariff deal, shall we? Let's put D5 here up on the screen, just so people know. Because the number one reason that we're supposed to be concerned about trade with China and all of that is our own personal domestic market. And right now, Trump has actually frozen export controls to secure the trade deal with China. Now, I would say AI, this is what they always say, the most important future part of our business, which runs on these NVIDIA H20 chips, which previously the Trump administration was going to freeze for export to China. The Trump, as part of the current negotiations with China, has actually blocked that export control, allowing NVIDIA to continue exporting those chips to China. Basically because, and you'll all recall this, Jensen Huang paid $5 million to have dinner with Trump down in Mar-a-Lago. That's how this all happened. Now, whether you support this or not, that's not really how we should be making national security policy, is it? Yep. Can we all agree with that? And people I know who are real China protectionists are freaking out about this, including Steve Bannon, who is quoted here in this article. But it's basically giving away the store on AI before there's even some sort of negotiation. By the way, let me also note this. The Trump administration today did something which they would have beat the hell out of Biden for doing. They blocked the Taiwanese president from transiting through New York to Central America on a trip. He was also supposed to participate in an event in Dallas. This is a top 10 trading partner of the United States, but because the Chinese are upset every time this dude even transits through America, they blocked him in the midst of their trade negotiation. You can be fine with that if you want. I would call that capitulation whenever we're talking about a major trading partner. That's the reality of the trade deals that we all have right now.
Yeah.
Japan's going to buy more rice. Congrats to them, our shitty rice. Japan is now going to open its market to U.S. cars. Nobody there wants them. Guarantee you that. The European Union, fine, they're paying a 15% tariff, and they've made all these fake ass promises to buy natural gas and to invest money. It's all bullshit. From what I'm looking at right now. I guess we should say fine. Let's not tell them that it is, because then we can all just move on. Maybe it's better than the alternative.
It's better than what was promised. I mean, that's the thing. Like, Bill Maher, not known for his economic attention to detail. We'll all recall the moment I had with him where he had no idea that the stock market had crashed during COVID, and then there were all sorts of extraordinary efforts to make sure that that didn't happen again, and the bond market seized up, whatever. So he's not known for really following the ins and the outs of these things, let's just say. But I'm so frustrated with the press. It just takes at face value. Like, Trump will say, oh, we got this deal and here's what it is, blah, blah, blah. And they just write that up. And we've had multiple times now where after the fact, you learn oh, by the way, that, $600 billion or whatever, we actually aren't really in a position to compel that or promise that. With the Japanese deal, after Trump made his big announcement, then the Japanese came and said, that's not actually what we really agreed to. So I don't know when they're going to learn the lesson of wait a beat, look into the details, find out what's real and what's not, before you give him his like glowing report of, oh, President Trump wins again. I was on with Piers Morgan yesterday, and it was, Krystal, why can't the Democrats give Trump credit? It's like, because there's nothing here to give credit for. It's the difference between also what was sold, the 90 deals in 90 days and how everyone's gonna come begging and it's gonna be this incredible renaissance and whatever, and the reality of these sort of like half-ass fake deals, which by the way, the part of it that actually has teeth, the 15% tariff on pharmaceuticals, are very likely to further drive up costs for medicine here in the US. And what we've said from the beginning is there's no industrial policy on the other side to actually help create, okay, yes, I agree, pharmaceuticals should be manufactured here. You don't achieve that just by slapping a tariff on. You need to have concerted industrial policy, of which there is none. So that's where we are. But I do think there will be a perception of like, oh, the sky didn't fall and you guys said it was. Because, I think there will be a little bit of that. But on the other hand, when you look at the polling, it's not like people are satisfied with the economy. You've got them doing the same thing that, we heard Democrats doing last. Oh, the stock market's doing well, so everybody must be doing well. No, most people don't feel like that.
I'll just end that. How did that work out for the Biden people? The S&P had, two record years under Joe Biden, one down year. Does that mean that the economy was better in 2024 because of the S&P 500? Obviously not, all right? And that was acknowledged. So anyway, it's a stupid way to track things, but nobody particularly cares about the details. For those of us who do, you can have it, all right? Now we've got Senator Alyssa Slotkin standing by. Let's get to it. Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button or leave a comment below. It really helps get the show to more people.
And if you'd like to get the full show ad-free and in your inbox every morning, you can sign up at breakingpoints.com.
That's right. Get the full show, help support the future of independent media at breakingpoints.com.